So I kind of like to think about training as like divided up into almost 4 stages. And this is what I've kind of put together as the philosophy for the region that I work in. So when someone first enters our program, it's really about movement quality. So what we're doing is setting the baseline for everything to come. So for me, I don't care about the weight on the bar. I don't care, I'm not impressed by quarter squats of 200 kilos. I'm not impressed by bench presses of 100 kilos. Like, I'm impressed by people who move well, because I know if you move well, you're less likely to get injured, because you're not going to find yourself in compromised positions that you're not prepared for. You can organize your body well. So that first stage we call learn. So this is just basically about learning the fundamentals. So the basics of squat, pull, pin, pull, push, hinge, jump, land, brace, rotate. We're going to teach, for the first 3 or 4 months, we're literally just teaching movement and understanding. And basically, can you figure out where your body is in space? Because that's what sport is. That's sport in a nutshell. It doesn't matter how strong you are if your feet are in the wrong place, or if your proprioception around your shoulder joint's completely gone and you're compromised. It doesn't matter how strong you are. We then kind of move on to what I call the explore phase. So this is where now you've learned the basics of a bodyweight squat, for example. So what I want you to understand is it's not about learning an exercise. It's about learning a movement pattern. So a good squat, 90% of the time, if you can tick off heels on the ground, knees out over your feet and your chest up, you're probably going to be in a good position, right? So you've learned that with a bodyweight squat. What I'm going to do now is release a degree of freedom and create a little bit of chaos and see if you can adapt. So we're going to change the context. So now you're going to go from doing a bodyweight squat to doing a goblet squat. We've just changed one simple thing. You've got a bit of anterior load. Can you now reorganize your system and demonstrate those same principles? Okay, great. Now we're going to do it asymmetrically. So you're going to hold that kettlebell on one side of your body. Now, can you adjust and counteract that? Can you do it on the other? Can you now do a front squat? Can you do an overhead squat? So all we're doing, the movement pattern throughout the whole stream is consistent. It's squatting. But what we're doing is constantly messing with the context to give your brain the challenge to coordinate your body parts to then adjust to this new context. So if you can come through all that and demonstrate those same principles of heels down, knees out, chest up, I know you understand the movement of squatting. The same isn't true if all I do is teach you to back squat when you come in on day one and we just back squat and load you up. I don't know that you understand squatting. You understand the exercise of back squat, but when I hand you over to Jared at Edinburgh and he goes, "Have you ever front squatted?" And you go, "No." Well, what's that going to look like? It's going to look dreadful, right? Because you've not put that tool in your toolbox. So what we're trying to do is basically give these athletes a toolbox of movement skills of all these different elements so that they understand movement. And this works particularly well when they're going through that growth spurt element, because as they're recalibrating, as they're growing and their levers are changing and their strength development's changing just naturally, neurally, it's almost like we're doing this recalibration constantly of recalibrating. Oh, this is what it feels to squat like now with this extra, centimeters of length in my leg, or this is what it feels to squat now, after a bit of a growth spurt. So that's a really optimal tool for that part of development, because we're just recalibrating the system. Once we know you can demonstrate those principles and you can demonstrate across a number of contexts, and I understand that you understand what upper body vertical pushing is like, or what upper body vertical pulling looks like, regardless of the context, that means you've got a really robust movement pattern. And now we can load you up and get strong. So it's not that we're all about movement and we don't get strong. It's actually we're setting the foundation first. There is this baseline that will serve you for life. And then once you've demonstrated the capacity to do that in loads of different variations, I know you know how to move, and then we'll load you up. And that's when we're going to go for things like, 1.5 bodyweight bench, 2 times bodyweight back squat, or whatever suits you. It might be a front squat for some individuals. So it's basically learn, explore, load, and then the final stage is explode, which is all about explosive strength. So it's looking at developing rate of force development. That's where, your bias of exercises may change and it may become, heavily, the focus is those Olympic lifting variations or sprints and jumps and throws, plyos. They're always there throughout, but it's just the priority is given in the program shifts depending on what the emphasis is. So that's kind of the way I organize training in my head is learn, explore, load, explode. And that's kind of where we're going with. But what most people do is jump straight to load and explode and then wonder why their athletes can't move well and get broken.